Okay, well, welcome everybody. My name is Noel Lyons, and today I have a really dynamic and smart guest for you from London, UK, Nicola Bird. Nicola is going to be talking about her #1 list building strategy, teleclasses. Hi Nicola, how are you doing today?
Oh, glad to be here.
How is your life really different now that you've really, taken on board this online world?
I think it's just, lots of different ways. Obviously I now don't go out and do lots of local networking and that kind of thing, because I can actually reach an audience that's far larger than that, far more quickly than that. And I just find that it kind of building my mailing list and doing the things that I'm doing online, using the social media tools and all that kind of thing, gets me in front of far more people than in an hour. I can use my time and get in front of far more people now that I'm using online strategies than I could when I was going out and doing networking or one-to-one workshops or smaller events like that. So it's just getting in front of larger people, and having a kind of 24-hour audience, which means I've had to think a lot more about automating what it is that I do and that kind of thing. Kind of thing, I suppose.
Yeah, because there's a lot of coaches who don't want to get involved online. They'd still rather do the local networks.
Yeah, I think the technology scares a lot of people, and I think that's something that I really kind of got to grips with over the last 12 months, was like playing and learning and finding out loads about technology and not letting it scare me. And I think that's the thing that can really hold people back sometimes.
Yeah, we've really taken the bull by the horns. So that's a lot of them. How did you get started in teleclasses?
I got started in teleclasses because my coach at the time suggested that it might be a great way for me to actually start raising my profile and building my list. So my coach said to me, have you thought about doing teleclasses? It had been quite a successful strategy for her. And I was like, no, what do you mean? I couldn't do that. I'd be absolutely terrified. What would I have to talk about? I said no. I said, I can't do that. I absolutely had the fear. And so we spent some time talking about, like, why do you think that? And what do you think would be the problems, and kind of talking it through. And in the end, reluctantly, I kind of agreed, yeah, okay, I'll give it a go. And that was again in January 2009.
Wow.
So I kind of said, yeah, go for it.
So what difference have they made for you?
I just think, that's basically how I've built my list over the last 12 months. So I started from that whole sitting there, being terrified, doing my first call, absolutely terrified, and really worrying that no one's going to turn up and all that kind of thing, to actually taking the bulls by the horn. And I think I've run over 40 this year in 12 months, because I was I did the first one, and yeah, I was terrified, and yeah, there were some things that went wrong and all that kind of thing. But I'm one of those people, I think, that you just have to, if there's something that you've got a fear about or something you think you're not particularly confident about, then the only way to get confident about it is doing it again and again and again and again and forcing yourself through it. So I did. But the great thing about it was that for me, I really like to see the results of what it is that I do. And I could see that every time I did a teleclass, I was starting to add like 100, 200 people onto my mailing list every time I did it. And it is the backbone of how I've built my mailing list over the last year, from 0 to kind of, I don't know what it is now, about 1,500, has basically been through teleseminars.
And it's literally all teleclasses, like 95%?
What, in terms of my list building strategies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of things with kind of social media tools to drive people to attend to my teleseminars. So there is that kind of stuff that's going on as well. But essentially, most of the time, up until recently, what I've been promoting to people is actually to come along to my next teleseminar that I've been running in terms of list building.
Yeah. Sometimes it seems like it's just the one sort of tactic, if you like, but quite often it's a few of them combined that give it the momentum. The fact that people see you on Twitter, very proactive. Essentially it was the one strategy. I decided, once I ran the first couple and I saw how effective they were, I decided that this was going to be my year, that my main key strategy for list building was going to be teleclasses. And so it was one strategy with lots of little bits kind of added on around the side to actually make those teleseminars work. But yeah, it was a core strategy. Okay. And for some time, so many people have been saying, run teleclasses because, one, people get to know the real you. They can hear you, they can listen to you. It's just fantastic for building rapport. Yeah. So why do you think more coaches don't? Is it the fear factor?
I think, well, not everybody realises why they can be quite so useful. And I just think, I mean, there are a lot of reasons why teleseminars are really, really useful. And like you say, they've been talked about quite often. But in terms of thinking about how they fit into your overall business strategy and the ways they could be used, there are so many different ideas out there. I think that people get overwhelmed. So you know that, for example, you can use them to build your mailing list. You know that you can use them to deliver group coaching. You know that you can be using them to promote events. You know you can use them to build rapport with people. That you can use them to create products, all that kind of thing. And people just think, okay, well, there's so many different ways out there, like how and why should I be using them? So there's definitely a sense of overwhelm, I think, firstly with teleseminars. And I think, I don't know, Noel, I suppose if I explain to you why I see people not using them and then explain kind of how you can overcome that will probably really help people that are listening into the call. But so I'd say there's that, first of all, there's that overwhelm thing. So there's all the different ways you can use teleseminars that you keep hearing from people that how great teleseminars are. But actually, it's thinking about what your business strategy is and where you are in your business right now. So for me, I was at a stage where I had no list. I had no, and the mailing list obviously is so important in terms of building a relationship with those people for lots of other reasons that are sort of beyond the scope of this call. But yeah, for me at that time, it was list building was my key thing to do. So that's what I used it for. Now I'm further down the line and I have a list that size that I'm pretty happy with. And now I'm going to start I'm using teleseminars much more for product promotion and for actually a product in themselves. So, my mastermind group, for example, that I'm running, I'm using teleclasses to do that with. So I think it's key, first of all, to be really clear about what your strategy is and where you are in your business and what you're trying to achieve with your business. So are you trying to sell products or are you trying to build your mailing list? And take the overwhelm out by just focusing on one core strategy to start with. Will kind of get you over that first hump and think, right, do you know what? I'm going to use them to build lists or I'm going to use them to promote products and just think of one thing first and take that first step. Does that sound clear?
It's always having a definite purpose in mind and keeping the end in mind. Now, obviously, this is a list building telesummit.
Yeah.
So for someone who, you've literally shown that in 1 year you can pretty much go from nowhere to quite a sizable sort of list.
Yeah.
I think, there's quite a few coaches to be happy with that many. And and it's the quality, your relationship with that list as well, isn't it? Because equally, I know lots of people with massive lists, 5,000, 10,000.
Yeah.
But I'm a recipient on some of those and they're very impersonal.
Yeah, definitely.
And you tend to be on it 2 or 3 times over.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather have a really good quality 1,500 list where, I feel like I know those people really well and that they know me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you do that if you can have a consistent strategy with something like the teleseminars that I was doing. A lot of the people who came along, yes, they were great for building lists, but they were also great for a lot of people who came to my teleseminars have come to like every teleseminar I did over and over and over again because they really enjoyed them and they found great value from them. And those are the people now. So it's not just about getting numbers onto the list and then that's all your teleseminars there for. But you can be using that to obviously be developing the relationship over time. So, people came again and again and again. And those are the people that are now buying from me.
Yes.
And buying my products from me because they've heard my voice. Yes, teleseminars do lend that intimacy. So they've heard my voice. They know a bit what I'm like. They know my kind of style and they either like me or they don't like me. And if they don't like me, they either do nothing or they unsubscribe eventually and that's fine. But if they like me, I can see that they keep coming back and back and back, to the teleclasses that I'm doing. So, it's a way of maintaining that relationship and building a stronger relationship at the same time as attracting new people because those people that come along to your teleseminars and enjoy them, they're the ones that go out there and tell their colleagues, like, do you know what, I heard this great teleclass and she's doing another one next week.
And that can be as simple as putting like a tweet this button below your teleseminar recording and a Facebook link. Yeah,
definitely. So the tweet meme button really works well for me in terms of getting people to tell people about what it is that I'm doing. Definitely.
Okay. So you've done 40 in a year, and for every single one, there's like an opt-in.
Yes, there has been. Yes.
And so that's like a catchy title for the teleseminar. Keep it very simple. A few bullet points. The main benefits of listening in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And then I have so what I do is I have a very simple sales page and I'm not, I wouldn't put myself out there as an expert in writing sales pages at all. But what I do is very clearly write out, okay, do you find that you have this problem? Okay, this is what I'm going to
to cover in my call today. And in fact, you know what, Noel, what I actually did, and this is something that is a really big, what's it called? Like a really big barrier for people in terms of doing teleseminars, but they absolutely have the fear that they're not going to have enough stuff to talk about for 60 minutes. And that was very much my fear. So what I did was actually go and interview other people who were experts in their field. So I didn't actually have to provide any of the content whatsoever. I was there purely facilitating and asking questions, and I knew what kind of questions coaches wanted asked and answered, because I was kind of in their situation myself. So I would ask the questions I knew people wanted to be asked, and I'd find out loads of great information that I wanted to know, but it also gave me great content for my calls. So when we're thinking there about doing the sign-up page, so I'd say, okay, I've got Andrea J. Lee, for example, coming on to my call, and she's going to be telling us about X, Y, and Z. And it would be the 5 things that I really wanted to find out, and I knew that people really wanted to find out from someone like Andrea J. Lee, or Bernadette Doyle, or Hannah McNamara, or Jeff Herring, or Sandra De Freitas, and all these fantastic people that I came across and I learned so much from. I just went out there and asked them if they would be interviewed by me. So when I was trying to find out about online marketing, I went to Biana Babinski and said, can I interview you? And she said yes. And all these people, CJ Hayden, and all these fantastic people that I really admired.
Now, is there a skill to that, Nicola?
No, do you know what? There is no secret to it. Do you know what? Biana Babinski, I asked her on Twitter. I didn't even know her, and I was like, I'm doing some great calls. Just had so-and-so and so-and-so. It's always good to do a bit of name dropping. And then, these, would you be interested? And she was like, yeah, drop me an email. And, and I think CJ Hayden as well, the same. I think we first connected on Twitter, and it was just me asking, do you know what? I'm interviewing some people. Would you be interested? And the thing to do, I think the key thing there in terms of giving some really key action points for people to take away.
Yes, that's trying to tease them out.
Yeah, this is such a great way to be running your very first teleseminars. Is if you feel a bit nervous about filling the content and the time, is to go out there and actually ask other people to if you can interview them on the call. And it's great because if you can choose, so the best way to do it is if you've got no mailing list at all, you choose somebody who has got the mailing list that you actually would quite like to get in front of. And they've got the mailing list that you'd like, but they are, a little bit more famous than you are. And so you don't go for people who are like really massively famous. You go for people a little bit more famous than you are. And you do a couple of sort of teleseminars at that level, getting people on board. And then you can go to people who are a little bit more famous than they are and say, okay, I've just interviewed so-and-so and so-and-so. Would you be interested in doing an interview with me? I'm doing a whole series of these with successful people in the field. And then you can start to build that. So you can use the names of the people that you've already talked to and say, okay, I've got so-and-so lined up for my next interview, but I'd really like you for the month afterwards. Would you be interested? And people like to be associated with that. I mean, I've just started doing a series of teleseminars called Successful Coaches. So, Andrea J. Lee, I went back to for that one. Milana Lashinsky did my next one. And it's great because I can go along to coaches and say, I'm running a series called Successful Coaches. Would you like to be interviewed? I mean, who's going to say no, basically? Because they're like, well, yeah, that would be, I want to be included within those people. I want to be seen by your audience, Nick, as someone who's a successful coach. So it's, in terms of it being an actionable strategy that you can take away from this call now, don't fear that you have to take the 60 minutes of the time to be talking yourself about stuff that you know lots about. You can do that, of course you can do that, but actually in terms of getting used to the technology and getting used to filling the time and managing the time and doing all the kind of promotion before and the follow-up afterwards, all that kind of stuff, I would say take the stress out of providing the content yourself and actually think about someone you could interview that people who you would like to have on your mailing list will know about. And obviously the other benefit of that is those people will often promote you out to their list as well. So they will say, I'm being interviewed by Nicola Bird next week. This is where you go to sign up. So again, you're attracting some of their list and some of their mailing list, obviously are coming to sign up to the call because they want to hear more about a person that they're already signed up to and they're already interested in. Yeah. So that's a key strategy, I think.
And I think it's like we're doing here. It's not so much taking a slice of the pie. You're not really taking their list. You're trying to build a bigger pie, bake a bigger pie together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's benefits for both parties in terms of that person gets to have their profile raised. They get exposed to people on my list that they wouldn't necessarily.
And even from the UK, because as big as these people are, they haven't, they're not known by everybody. You could still talk to coaches in the UK and elsewhere and say, Angelie, and they say, who's that? So
yeah, exactly.
We often forget that.
Yeah, definitely, because I think you know who people are that you really admire and that you really like the work and what it is they do, and you think other people could learn. If you've learnt loads from somebody and the way that they've done things, then quite often people who perhaps would come onto your mailing list and people you're trying to attract could also learn a lot from these people. So, that's the way to think about it, I think.
Come from an abundant attitude that, everybody wins.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I mean, and the other kind of main barrier, I think, to people when they're thinking about teleseminars is that they say they don't know what they're going to talk about in terms of their content, but the other thing is they don't know how they're going to do it in terms of the technology. And people will say, oh yeah, just make sure you start running teleclasses. And we're like, yeah, but how? What do I do? And how do I do that? And for me, I was so into the whole positive thing about how great teleclasses were and how well they worked for me. And I could see that barrier. It was the main thing that came. People would come up and talk to me when I was talking about teleseminars again and again and again and say, well, just how do you do them and what do you use? And that was stopping people from actually getting started.
Yeah.
And so...
And to be honest, you can read and listen, but at the end of the day, you've just got to do it and you've got to get through that initial discomfort. It's like anything in life, isn't it? It's like starting secondary school.
Definitely. I think the whole kind of, and that's why I've built the products that I have, like step by step products. I think if you can break it down and get over that overwhelm. So that, I was kind of talking to you earlier, Noel, about that. I have, a product which is about teleseminars and webinars step by step. And that actually takes people through the whole process of, kind of press this button, then press this button, then press this button in this tool, and this is how your teleseminar will work. And I think that something like that, if you can get your hands on a product or a book or something like that, that actually takes the technology fear out of it as well for you, then if you've conquered the technology and you've conquered the content, obviously you've got to think about promotion, how you're going to fill your event as well. But those are the kind of key things that stop people moving forward. And so it's making a decision,
and I've done this when I was starting out, just record yourself for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Just get comfortable talking, through the microphone, listening back in afterwards, and just see if you can improve on it.
Yeah, definitely. And you'll definitely hear things. I mean, actually, Noel, I'm actually the opposite to that. I can't bear to ever listen to a call that I've done, which I probably should do. But, that's great advice for people in terms of listening back.
My experience is they sound better afterwards than they did at the time.
Oh, really? I can't bear it. I bear it. I just can't do it.
So step by step now, Nicola, it's obviously list building we're talking about. Is definitely you need an opt-in page every time you do a teleclass.
Yeah.
And this is even when you're doing paid ones too, that, at least get the opt-ins.
Because you know why, Noel? Because you will always find that when you do a teleclass, lots and lots of people are interested. Lots and lots of people will sign up to say they want to come, and not that many people will come.
That was my next question. What sort of take-up do you get? 'Cause
I reckon it's probably around about 30% of people who, this is my experience, and I don't know what other people's experience is, but I would say probably around about 30% of people who sign up and say they want to come to a teleseminar actually attend the live event. Now, I always make sure I send out a recording for most of the calls that I do afterwards. So I send it out to everyone who signed up to that particular event. So it gives them an incentive to sign up even if they know they can't make the live call.
Yeah. But you've still built your list, haven't you? Because you still have all those email addresses.
Yeah, definitely. So all those people have added their name to they've said, yes, I want to come to the teleseminar.
So when you run your next one, and your next one, there's like a momentum effect where over time your list is just getting bigger and bigger, and it's up to them if they want to take themselves off, but you're still giving them the opportunity to attend your teleclasses.
Yeah, totally. And I offered, when I was doing them as list building, the key there is to offer them for free. So those people I was delivering value to time and time and time again, as well as obviously giving them loads of stuff through my newsletter and my blog posts and stuff, giving them loads of tools and tips and help and all that kind of thing in that way.
Keep in touch, relationship build in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, it's no point. There is no point, I don't think, doing just a one-off teleseminar to build your list. I think it's a great idea to plan a series of them so you can do exactly that. I mean, 40 is probably ridiculous. I mean, I wouldn't recommend anybody do that.
Well,
I just got carried away because I absolutely loved them. But
I was going to say, if that's your thing, why not?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what works, because it is finding your medium, isn't it? Some people love video.
Yeah.
I prefer audio.
Yeah, definitely, and importantly, it's what your audience like as well. So I know that
exactly.
A lot of people on my list they like downloading the MP3s and off they go.
And listen anytime on your iPod.
Yeah, definitely, and it does work really well.
Okay, and then even at the end of each teleclass, you can actually ask them to pass the word. Invite their friends next time.
Definitely. And also, depending on the tools that you use, you can have a big button sitting there when people are listening to the teleseminar that's sitting in front of them on a screen, which actually says sign up for my next teleseminar. So they're kind of doing that already, or click here to let other people know about this teleseminar and how they can get the recording.
That's a great tip, because that could be any offer at all, couldn't it? Because they are sitting there quite often if they are at their PC.
Yeah, because a lot of the teleseminar technology actually allows people to listen through the web rather than actually dialing in on a telephone.
Yes.
And I find most people actually will listen to me on the web, not on the telephone. And so they are sitting there, and the tools that you can use so that they're actually sitting in front of a promotional screen, as it were, so that when you're talking to them, especially if you're talking to them about a particular product, for example, because don't forget you can actually build your list and generate revenues at the same time, because if you're interviewing other people, for example, like when I was interviewing people, I'd always say to them, is there a product you'd like to promote? And chances are they would have an affiliate scheme, I would have an affiliate link to that product, and we would then be promoting that product at the same time. So I'd be building my list, but also people who then went on to buy as a result of that call, I would be generating revenue from. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. That's why I love that strategy, really. It's a great one.
Leverage, we're both into that. And of course, the more calls you do, the more bonuses you've got for future products.
Yeah, definitely, because you can very much take the stuff that you've done and turn that into products, and you can turn it into material, you can turn it into blog posts. The amount of stuff you can get out of one 60-minute audio is incredible, and in terms of helping you create products.
Okay. Now, what if someone's perhaps not as outgoing as yourself, Nicola? What sort of advice did you have for them?
I would say interview other people, because you probably ask, I don't know, in 60 minutes, you could probably, if you've got good questions, which if you're a coach, you should have good questions. That's what you do. You've probably got, I don't know, 6 or 7 questions, and you don't actually have to say anything else. So I would say if you're not as confident in public speaking, if you're not a public speaker, and certainly I don't know whether I'd count myself as one, but you need an introduction, you need a conclusion, which you can write out in longhand, so you know you're not going to fluff it. And then apart from that, you've got like 6, 7 questions that you're asking. You do have to put yourself out there to obviously get a guest on the call, but I would say if you are feeling apprehensive about going out there and providing your own contact and speaking yourself for 60 minutes, then getting a guest thing is definitely a way to go, I think.
It's like now, isn't it? I'm just asking a few questions, but you're doing 90% of the talking, and that's the way it should be, because it's your call.
I know. And if you told me a year ago that I'd actually be providing the content and not asking the questions, I'd have been even more terrified. But there you go. And it's not at all.
So do it is your...
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is to go out there and do it. Like, I was terrified on my first one. I sat there and I've still got the email I sent to my coach, and it says, this is your fault. And the email says, it's 10 minutes to go. I've got a glass of water here in case I get a dry throat. I'm practicing saying my guest name over and over and over again because I know I'm going to get it wrong. I've got a nappy here in case I need a wee in the middle of the call because I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Right.
And things like this. And it was so funny. And just going, I'm absolutely terrified because there's all these things that might happen and I don't know if they're going to go wrong. And, I got the guest name wrong, but I didn't need any of my other emergency tools. You'll be pleased to hear. But I was terrified, but I did it anyway. And I think that's the thing, like, accept the fact that you're going to be terrified. Everybody is when they do their first teleseminar. So you just have to kind of take that, put it on a shelf and do it anyway. Let's like take that feeling, put it to one side and just do the thing anyway. Expect that you're going to fluff up a few times and learn and make sure you've got the next one booked in like 2 weeks later. So you have to do it again and you have to do it again until you get good at it and you get confident at it.
And it's the same in real life. If you give a workshop, people are there to actually, take in what you're about to say. They haven't come to laugh at you and make fun of you.
No, definitely. And I've never had that. I've never, ever had that. I've never had any heckling. I've never had anything. Basically, if someone's listening on a teleseminar and they're not enjoying what they're doing, they simply hang up the phone. And that's fine, because people will always do that. And you know, that's all right. So, but nobody actually heckles you. Nobody comes back and kind of gives you a question it's impossible to answer, or puts you on the spot in a really nasty way. Well, I've never had that anyway.
Yet.
I've never heard that. And I've listened to my fair share of teleseminars over the last year as well, and I've never heard anyone else kind of doing that either. So, you know, it really is a case of...
Yeah, it's an irrational fear. It's not something to worry about, is it? So.
Yeah. I mean, it's a case, I think the thing to do practically is the whole step-by-step approach. So write a whole list of what you need to do to actually get your first teleclass up, running and out there and actually started. And then just knock the things off the list one at a time. So find out about the tools that you need to use. Find out from other people about how to do it. And, you know, write the whole list of what it is you need to do, and then just tick them off one at a time. Before you know it, you'll be running teleseminars.
Brilliant, Nicola, because that was going to be my wrap, because time's almost up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were starting over again, would you do anything differently?
Yeah, do you know, I do. I would have paid good money right at the beginning for someone to teach me how to do it, rather than spending quite a bit of time fluffing it up and trial and error. That's what I would have done. I would have gone out there and I would have found a product that taught me how to do it, and I would have done that right at the beginning, and I'd have got it more right earlier on. Do you know what I mean? And taking the pain out.
Because it has been that powerful for you, that just sort of accelerate your progress.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So either buy a good product, or meanwhile just come up, break it down, put it into a process, every single step you can think of, and it just takes away the intimidation factor.
Yeah, definitely the overwhelm.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, it's been great listening to your energy today.
Thank you.
And thanks for all your expert input.
Thank you, Noel. I've quite enjoyed it. This is a topic close to my heart, so I could actually talk about it for hours. So you've done well to keep me in the 30 minutes.
I was going to say, it shows, Nicola. I know you could talk on days on this, but
yeah, definitely.
And to you listening, thank you for listening in and staying with us throughout the whole call. I hope you got some good takeaways, and take action, get clients, start planning your teleclasses today. Thanks for listening.